Kay, it's the Man City that you watch every single season. At the business end of the season, they never panic. They churn out the results. I think that's them unbeaten in 19 in the Premier League. It's what they do. They got a little bit of fortune today. The context of the 2 goals, Nico Williams was marking Vardy all throughout the game, and he was off the pitch. So Forest were down to 10 men, and he was obviously off the pitch when Vardy all scored. And then Murillo at the end of the game was struggling with his groin, and he was sort of labouring. He was labouring towards the end of the game, and then Haaland come on and sort of took him on. He couldn't really shift his feet, but a very professional performance. All City fans want to do, like Arsenal fans at this stage of the season. Performances are good, but it's all about the wins.
It is all about the wins, isn't it?
Well, today in particular for Manchester City, yes, it has to be about the win and not so much about the performance as a whole. Because let me just say, there were moments in this game in which Manchester City were hanging on. And if Chris Wood had had a decent day, and I'm not even talking about a great day, but a decent day, he would have scored a couple of goals. And he's not the only one. Nico Williams, and Don just mentioned, not even a minute into the game, there's a ball floated to the back post, and he is wide open, and it's a swing and a miss. And there were moments like that for Nottingham Forest in which you think, man, if this team were any good, anywhere near a productive team in the attack, there were opportunities created. There were chances created. The moments were there. But you allow Manchester City to get away with those moments, and eventually the quality takes over. And so the possession of the ball from Manchester City in the second half, I'm going to say about 15, 20 minutes into the second half, was much better. The control of the game was much better. And eventually, the quality of a guy like Erling Haaland, who scores a goal that we don't see him score all the time, in which he actually has to take somebody on, shift a little bit away from the inside to the outside, and finish it in the manner in which he did. It's good to see him score a goal again. I'm just saying, Manchester City, they'll be happy with the 3 points. I'm not so sure that the 90 minutes they'll be proud of.
And we got to see more service from Kevin De Bruyne once again, asking Erling Haaland, how may I serve you? Look at this. Most assists this season in the Premier League, 15 in 21 games. He is standing high above the other players on this one, assisting 2 goals in this game. Massive difference maker always, and no Foden today. Kevin De Bruyne stepping off.
Yeah, with Foden, apparently he's out with illness, and Kevin De Bruyne, we know exactly how good Kevin De Bruyne is as a player. Maybe he hasn't lived up to those heady heights this season, but once he's able to find spaces in those spaces, in those half spaces, as we saw against Forest, there are still very few passes of the ball as good and as effective as Kevin De Bruyne. I have to say, though, I'm with Ali on this and on Manchester City. And while, yes, this is when City are normally so good, this is the time of the season where they just seem to find another gear, where they handle the pressure better than anybody else. And Don mentioned the run that they're on. It's 15 wins and 4 draws in the last 19. Nothing about that performance, nothing about what we've seen from City for some time suggests that this is a team that's undefeated in 19. How Nottingham Forest would be at home now wondering, how did we not at least get a point out of this? Because they had chances after chance. And it really felt like this was a moment coming, and maybe it was just Nottingham Forest as a team getting caught in the headlights. It was not about the performance of City. It was just about them kind of getting in their own hands and being intimidated by who the opponent was, as opposed to how well the opponent was playing. But all that being said, all you have to do, as we said with Arsenal, at this point, just keep somehow grinding out results. City are doing that and as needed.
Is there any suggestion, though, from what you guys have been saying, Don, that City don't win out?
No, I think both teams will win all their games. I think both teams are that good. I think if you're Arsenal, you're confident that you got the biggest test out of the way today. They'll win the next 3 games. And I think City will do exactly the same. I think when you look at Arsenal, as I said before, they've got Spurs out of the way, tough game. They'll beat Bournemouth. They'll beat Man United, who I commentated on the weekend against Burnley. And Burnley should have won the game by 3 or 4. And then last day of the season, they'll beat Everton at home. Everton are obviously safe now in the Premier League. And when you look at City's fixtures, Tottenham one's probably the most stressful one. But I just think they'll find a way to beat them. They'll win all 4, and I think they'll win the league.
Any concerns for you there, Shaka?
My concerns around City. Listen, I think Arsenal win out. They are just playing that good football, and we'll put the Villa game down as an anomaly. But for City...
Is that because you were at the stadium?
Well, I don't want to add to that. I don't want to add to that speculation. but for City, and again, while absolutely yes, you can see City winning all 4 of those games. If City play like this, as they did against Forest, against Spurs as an example, I don't think they win that game. If they play like this, as they did against Forest, against Wolves, I don't think they win it. And that's the thing for me. If City show up, they win those games easily. If they produce these kind of performances that we saw today, I'm not sure that they get the better of Spurs, Wolves, maybe even West Ham.
Ale?
Yeah, I had some concern about Arsenal coming into this match against Spurs, but obviously those concerns were put away. And so now I look at Arsenal and think very much like Don that they're going to win out. And so then the responsibility is on Manchester City. History tells us that we should trust Manchester City. I don't trust the team that I saw today.
Shaka saying he doesn't fancy Man City to beat what, Wolves and West Ham?
No, I said if City play as they did today against Forest, they don't win those games. And that's
but
the
Phil
thing.
Foden to come back in.
And I accept, as I said off the top, you absolutely see City winning out. But the inconsistency of their performances is the cause for concern. I don't have that cause for concern with Arsenal. Arsenal have been fairly consistent, Villa game aside. City just haven't. We know they can. This is when they're at their best, or they have to be at their best for the next 4.
Don?
Yeah, no, I think they will raise the level. I think the reason why they are consistent, unbeaten in 19, is because of what they do. They're not the Man City of 3 or 4 years ago when we used to seeing them wallop teams by 6 and 7. They're a different machine now, but they're well capable, even though it's a slight contradiction. They're not really doing clean sheets. But I never really get the feeling that I'm stressed when I watch Man City. When you watch Liverpool the last couple of weeks, you think, oh, this is going to be hard. They're not really firing. It's a bit stressful because they're not particularly great and they're a little bit edgy. I never get that feeling when I watch Man City towards the end of the season. They've been there. They get the job done. Yes, they've lost people like Gundogan and Mahrez, but they've got Phil Foden, they've got Kevin De Bruyne, they've got Haaland, they've got Julian Alvarez, they've got Grealish, they've got Doku. They've still got an amazing players I mean, Haaland came off the bench today. Phil Foden wasn't even in the squad through illness. So they're only going to get stronger. And I just think they've got in everyone's heads. If we're constantly talking about it as analysts that they get the job done and you can rely on them, can you imagine being in the Arsenal camp or the Liverpool camp when you're trying to chase them down? They're in everyone's heads for a reason because they're that good.
All right.
Manchester City fans were stressed today.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I know Don is not stressed. I'm pretty sure Manchester City fans were stressed today.
I will also add that one of the reasons for hope for me with City, I mean, that's kind of a loose term, but it's Pep Guardiola and his understanding and reading of the game and situations in this. In his post-game press conference, he spoke about the City ground being a little bit dry and he felt that affected how City were able to play and why he went for the change at half-time and bringing off Doku because he felt the game was too open. Just little things like that, I think, is where Pep Guardiola sets himself apart. Recognizing what's needed, recognizing how the game needs to change and how conditions affect how ideally you want to play. That, for me, hearing Pep Guardiola speak about it gives me more reason to believe that City will be better in the closing games than they were today, than anything I saw from individual players on the